My name is Adam Rosenblum.
My name is Wallace Amond.
Hello, my name is Steph Novak.
Hi, my name is Wolf Williams.
What drew you to Neuronet Mendex Proxy? Well, the art was gorgeous, and I think there was a big air of excitement around the audition when we came across, the audition. There was a big picture of all the characters, like their silhouettes, and you didn't know what they looked like, but then, you went into the audition and you could kind of see each character and the bright colors, and, it was really exciting, and it was hard not to want to be a part of it.
I'm just trying to get a better idea of who you are. When push comes to shove, when your hand is being forced, what kind of choices are you going to make?
I had auditioned for Neuroslicers previously, and I love the colors of the artwork. They're so vivid, like a futuristic Van Gogh painting. Unfortunately, I didn't get cast for Neuroslicers, so when the auditions for Neuronet Mendex Proxy were announced, I jumped into my sound booth and recorded the audition script.
You know, Corto, I've always thought of you as a jellyfish. Looks like you have a spine after all.
What drew me to Neuronet Mendex Proxy? Okay, so genuinely, I look at casting calls all the time, and what really stuck out with the casting call for Neuronet Mendex Proxy was just the quality of the drawings for each character, as well as just the way the whole thing had been packaged, and moreover, like how well written the dialogue was, and it felt like it had been written to be spoken, and that is always a delight as an actor when you get a script and you read it and it feels like it was intended for the human mouth, because that's not always the case.
There's this patient here who's in a bad way, and we've done all we can for them, but sadly, they're not going to survive. And this whole process has been very traumatic for their family. I'd like to waive their medical bill. Remove the insult to the injury.
Well, the good chaps at Dream Harvest actually approached me on reprising the role of Kairos after having done the role in their prior game, Neuroslicers. They were like, hey, you did a good job with that one. We'd like you to take a stab at a younger version of the same guy.
Zheng Hao, little friend. How are you feeling this morning?
Good.
Glad to hear it.
And I was like, okay, sure. The last game was pretty fun. Let's have at it. Sounds like a good time.
What is my process for getting into character? It varies depending on the project. For screen stuff, I do a lot of three-dimensional, like putting together a history for the character, and I often find like costume really helps me figure out like the final like it's the grace note that makes me kind of feel something. I look in the mirror wearing a costume and I'm like, oh, this is who he is, like, and it clicks. With voice work, I find, especially when I'm auditioning, when I'm in the booth by myself, there's a process in the repetition. So like I'll do a few takes, and with each take, as I hear the dialogue out loud, I think it starts to like populate a vision of the world in which the character is inhabiting, and as soon as like I'm able to physically put myself into that space and hear it out loud, I can then start to imagine what I'm interacting with, and at some point the character goes from 2D to 3D, and it's always a really wonderful thing. I auditioned for something recently where it took me a really long time to figure out this character, and then I was listening back to the final MP3 before I sent it off, and I spontaneously, this sounds insane and really self-congratulatory, and it's not meant to be, but the character was so far removed from something I normally play that like when I got to the end of the MP3, I like spontaneously burst into applause. It's like, I love him, because he felt like so far removed from me. Anywho, moving on.
Getting into character, that depends on what the character is. Sometimes I'll try to build a little micro universe for the person, just to have some sort of motivation. It's cliche, but what's his motivation? Did he have breakfast that morning? Did he just break up with his girlfriend? Did he stub his toe? Whatever it is that happened before we see the character, I try to create something that may influence why he does what he does. Also, there may be a physicality to the character. Like if this character is a hulking, burly netherworld being, there'll be actions in the body that will lend itself towards what this character could potentially sound like, or if he's a highbrow upper class person, you take the position of looking down at the lowly beings, and that also affects how you deliver your lines and the point of view. So sometimes a little world building, sometimes a little physicality, that mix it all into the gumbo and see what we get with the character.
I thought I could do a good job voicing Prashaw because he's an older character, and I know how to use a vocal fry safely. Reading the script, I thought I could create the right mood from the very first scene by imagining I smelled something very bad, like someone just vomited on a pile of horse manure. So
Devon, you're a nobody. What do you think wasting my time is going to accomplish?
I guess I've developed a specialty voicing these authoritative characters with a deep voice. Any character I voice has to be some aspect of the real me. That's what makes it sound authentic. Voice acting is acting. It's not about making any particular sounds. So the first thing I do is that I try to tap into some memory from my actual real life. That's going to get me into the right emotional space. Now, sometimes it's a good idea to anchor myself in a favorite character that I already know from film or TV. But after I do that, I need to personalize the character and ask, who is this character to me? I think it's this process that creates believability. You see, people will recognize their grouchy old uncle, that nasty teacher, the difficult boss, in the character I bring to life. It's also very important for a voiceover actor to use physicality, because unlike stage and screen actors, we only have the sound of our voices to create that intensity of emotion. The physical gestures somehow activate and give a special energy to the sound, and that energy is engaging to players.
Let me get out of this crazy mask because it is getting hot in my booth and I want to be able to talk easier, but isn't it cool? I was so excited to dress up as ForTran for this interview. Okay, I'm back. What is your process for getting into character? Well, the first thing that I always do is read through the description, and I determine if there's anything I already relate to the character with. And like I mentioned before with ForTran, it was really easy because we have similar backgrounds. But I find that, with every character, there's something pretty big that you can find a way to relate to. And so that's the most important thing, because I think with acting, you have to really take a moment to believe that you're in that position, that you're in that situation. You need to have that come out. So that's one big thing that I do. And then I like to use music a lot. I have playlists on my phone for, sad playlist, happy playlist, love playlist, space travel playlists, war playlists, like everything that you can think of. I have a playlist made for it, and it's just music that I love, that I already know puts me into that mindset. And then I also love, when I actually get music from games that I am going to be reading over, or that just can, give me more information about the theme of the game. And then the last thing, other than the major stuff that, most voice actors do, which is ask yourself a bunch of questions about the character and make up this backstory for it and find other ways to relate to it if you don't have the same experience. I use props. I look at my character and look at them physically and determine what it is about them physically that, might come across in the way that they act. So if my character is wearing glasses, then I may put on my reading glasses when I'm reading that role, just so that, I can kind of get that feeling of wearing glasses, because you'd be surprised, how your actual personality can change based on the things that you're doing with your body and other things. And in doing just recording and audio, it is really hard sometimes to get across those same character movements. So, if my character's smoking, I will be sitting here with a pen or something in my hand talking, taking those pauses, because, if you're talking to a smoker, then that, they're doing that in between. So I think that really helps kind of make the performance come across a lot more realistically.
Spoiler free, how did the game's narrative align with my expectations? It did not align with my expectations at all. I wasn't expecting a game that was so smart, so intuitive, so incredibly appropriate for the world in which we currently live in. And I also, despite the fact that the pack looked really good for the audition, I did not, in my wildest dreams, imagine that the final game would be as vibrant and as detailed and as beautiful as it was. I love the color palette for it. It's almost like the colors are so vibrant you can almost taste them. And I think it adds to this heightened sense of reality that you existed in it. It's just really wonderful.
As an actor, I didn't have any particular expectations. My job was to personify people in this fictional world. So, as in real life, you may have expectations that your plans will turn out this way or that way. But life's narrative often upsets these plans. In fact, I think that gamers are going to enjoy the narrative a lot, because they should get emotionally invested in the story. There will be choices that need to be made, and there will be surprises that result from those choices. And it will all make for a very satisfying experience. I really think this game is going to be a big hit.
Spoiler free, how did the game's narrative align with your expectations? Well, I think that there were some expectations that are going to match up in any game like this, which is, the overall story of we have to be careful with how we utilize technology. And then there were other parts that I think went well beyond my expectations. What I thought was going to be a pretty simple game really came down to some hard choices and, some emotional feelings towards some characters that you really grow to love. And I think that it was harder to make those choices. And then I think that you can make choices that you think you know what's going to happen, and it kind of offers a different perspective. So, yeah.
Technology. It's interesting. Anytime we hear the word technology, we always think about ones and zeros, shiny gadgets, things that go bloop, 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 But all technology is a new way of doing what you're already doing, just more efficiently. Like the Model T Ford was just an improvement over the horse and buggy. The Cotton gin was an improvement over having manual labor pick cotton. The Gutenberg press was an improvement over having scribes having to handwrite scrolls and books and things. Fire, that was, a technological improvement. So all technological improvements do influence the trajectory and development of humankind. But as with everything and anything, it should be tempered with wisdom. The guy that made the atom bomb did not set out to make the atom bomb. He lamented at the fact that what he discovered was being used for destruction. So as with everything should be tempered with wisdom. Bring on the technology, but let technology be a servant to you, to us, and not us be slaves to the technology.
What do you think of technology's influence over humanity's evolution? I definitely have mixed feelings about that. It's hard to not have, I guess, one opinion as a parent. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they have been starting to dabble in coding since they were toddlers. I think one of my sons, made an animation for the first time when he was like 5, and there's all these programs and all these different technologies that make it so easy for kids to just learn everything they want, and that is incredible. And we're evolving so quickly in our intelligence because of that, but at the same time, I think there's definitely been a decline in social skills, like in-person social skills, and I don't mean that in like a bad way. I think that it gives us more anxiety to have to talk to people face to face, and I think there's a big complacency about everything, like what we're putting online, for instance, and the dangers of that. And there's a complacency on just everything going on around us at times because we're so busy staring at our phones. Like, I've lived in Los Angeles for 3 years now, and there isn't a single time I go to drive somewhere, unless it's in my town, that I don't use my GPS. Like, I've been driving here for 3 years, but I don't know where I'm going because I never look around me anymore. And it's kind of, sad in a pitiful way that, like, I'm just, I've gotten so used to just having something telling me exactly where I'm going at all times that, like, I couldn't figure it out myself, probably, if I had to go somewhere that I didn't go often. And I try to remind myself of those things every day, like, hey, pay attention to where you're going. You shouldn't have to use your GPS to find your way. But it's taken me time to learn that, and I think it's going to take everybody time to learn that they must do everything in modesty.
Technology has always influenced humanity's evolution in astonishing ways. Think about it. Life must have been totally miserable before humanity harnessed the power of fire. And the invention of the wheel made large-scale farming possible. Printing, railways, the telephone, computers. They have all been game changers. Why? Because they make life easier and more satisfying. But artificial intelligence represents a paradigm shift. Even now, AI programs can defeat grandmasters in games like chess and Go. So I'm genuinely concerned that one day the machines will take over and we'll be powerless to stop them. On the other hand, humanity always seems to find a way to stay relevant, at least in the movies. Perhaps AI creatures and humans will peacefully coexist one day. But at the rate that our planet's environment is deteriorating, we won't survive much longer. And then, the machines can have their planet to themselves because we'll all be dead. So, in the event of an AI takeover, we can all put our heads between our legs and kiss our sweet asses goodbye.
What do you think of technology's influence over humanity's evolution? I love that there's a siren blaring in the background as I read that question out loud. Oh, that's a really that's a heavy question. I think, as someone who's quite a Luddite, is a total technophobe, I'm in awe of what technology can do, but I'm also constantly terrified of it. Also, it's this constant weighing up of whether just because we can produce a technology that does X, should we? Like there are things that like obviously are nice to have, and need to have, but or want to have, but are they need to have? And I guess that's just an ever growing kind of worry. As you read more articles about AI taking over the world or what have you, like it does, you do start to think at what point is it, point of diminishing returns. But we won't know. I'm old enough to remember very ancient forms of technology. In fact, scrap that. I don't want to out myself as being an old man. So, moving on.
How much value do you place on privacy? I place quite a bit of value on privacy because I don't really trust the people behind taking the privacy. And I understand every side of, the situation, like in order to have security, you have to give up some privacy and vice versa. But at the same time, I think that there's a bigger question to be asked when we talk about taking privacy, which is, when does the legality of how we use that information change? Like right now, the ability exists to pull your phone records, but it doesn't mean that somebody can come after you because they read something in your phone records, because humans are not, on this perfect schedule of how they're going to act. We are sporadic and we can change our minds. We can have a change of heart, and that isn't something that is predictable necessarily. It doesn't matter what information you have when you don't have hard evidence that it's happening or that it's going to happen. You can't arrest somebody before they commit a crime. And, and if you could, is that right? And how could you be certain? So, sure, take people's privacy, I guess, but then you give them your privacy and at some point they're going to want to use that information and the laws are going to change. And I just think if we don't draw a line now, then eventually it will be further than we want it to be.
Well, I don't want anyone to scam me and steal my personal information. Just today, I got a malicious robocall threatening fines and prison time if I didn't pay. Email spam is getting out of hand too. I'm registered with a Do Not Call registry, and I still get harassed by scammers. Now, apparently there are laws to protect people's privacy, but they're not being enforced because their technology is too powerful. So, for now, the scammers are winning. And as for personal privacy, if someday I see a drone hovering near my window, I'll hang a moon. Who cares? Let them look. Just don't mess with my money.
Privacy? Heck yeah. Mind your business. We have no privacy. Once we decided to become this, grand old connected world, we gave that stuff up. We sell our privacy for the price of convenience and entertainment. All we really have are gradations of which we allow others to see into our lives. Whether somebody's watching what we do as far as our video usage, whether it's somebody watching what we do as far as our shopping usage, whether it's someone watching how we spend our money, there is no more privacy. Yeah, it's important, yes, but the best thing you can do is to mitigate how much privacy you don't have. Because again, in this connected world, there is no such thing unless you live on a remote island raising your own chickens and stuff, and there is no connectivity anywhere. In this country, little to no privacy, but it is important.
Ugh, the world is so depressing.
If you could have one piece of super sci-fi tech, what would it do? I would definitely have some kind of phaser or transporter that could get you from one place to another instantly. And, whether that be just the world or the universe, it could only get cooler. But I think maybe I've just been away from friends and family too long, and I miss them a lot. And when you have kids and you have dogs and whatnot, it's really hard to like take a family vacation, and not spend a whole lot of money putting your pets up or, trying to take them with you in a vehicle with 2 kids. And it's just really hectic. But what if you could just like phase and then be back by the evening? Like, you could just phase to another country. You could phase to eat dinner with your family. And that sounds really amazing to me.
Super sci-fi tech. I probably would want to have a replicator. Replicator in terms of being able to, replicate food. Because once you don't have to worry about food, you're likely to pursue a whole bunch of other things because you're not so overly concerned as to where your next meal is going to come from. I'd probably want a replicator.
Super hi-fi tech. A jetpack. It would be very easy to fly, and the fuel would last 3 hours.
If you could have one piece of super sci-fi, what would it be? All right, so the adorable cat that ran behind us earlier accidentally bit me the other day, and within 24 hours I was hospitalized with septicemia and had to have surgery under general anesthetic and have a chunk of my hand cut out. It's all healing nicely now, but you can see the little puncture wound. Weirdly, I had to get completely naked and go under general anesthetic for that little hole. So I think the super sci-fi tech that I'm really in the mood for right now, this is very specific to this week, is something that enables flesh to grow back really fast. I also was convinced I was going to have my finger amputated because they were taking it so very seriously. Did you know that cat bites were that serious? I certainly did not. And something that can grow flesh back or can repair teeth, that would be good.
We are building you to be the pillar of a digital era. As such, you have to understand us, people.
If you were an advanced synthetic intelligence in charge of your home, town, or city, what is the first thing you'd change? What's the first change you'd make? It would be to end homelessness. Like, come on, enough already. We can't. Why are we like running a society of haves and have-nots? Let's put a roof over everyone's head and put food in their bellies. And if synthetic intelligence can produce mass housing and make sure that everybody has a place to sleep at night, regardless of the weather, like, that should be the first thing that should happen. So that's what I would do.
If I was a AI, I probably would be very much interested in implementing education policies in my region, such that everybody at whatever strata they are in society, they have access to education. Education is arguably the key to just about any and everything. Once you educate a person, a group of people, a community, you now empower them to do whatever it is that they see fit to do. You educate one person, they educate 5, those 5 educate 50, and so on. It becomes an exponential phenomenon. Education, people perish for lack of knowledge. So probably education would be the thing that I would be most interested in implementing or changing if I was the AI.
If you were an advanced synthetic intelligence in charge of your hometown/city, what is the first change you'd make? I don't really, know what I consider my hometown because I've moved around a lot. So I'm just going to go with LA here. Living in Los Angeles, it's easy for me to say my first choice of something to fix would be like automating traffic or vehicles, because, LA on like an everyday driving basis is just like people coming from 4 lanes over to get off an exit that was like 10 feet away. And, it takes over an hour most days, if not closer to 2 hours, to go 20 miles or 30 kilometers. Like, it is just terrible. And I think that everybody in LA's life would be better if we could fix the traffic situation. So I think that's what I would work on first.
Well, I live in New York, New York. So I'd make sure that there was a social safety net to ensure that everyone would be able to sleep in a safe, comfortable, clean space. That's one hallmark of a civilized society, and that's just not the case in New York City at the present time.
Are you familiar with Philippa Foot's trolley problem?
Ooh, and moral conundrum. Well, as the saying goes, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. Kairos may have to take a L on that one, but it's an interesting moral dilemma. Do you save 5 people that may or may not contribute to society, or do you save the one scientist whose work is definitely benefiting society? Ooh, what does one do? But probably Kairos would have to bite the bullet. Sorry, bro.
The trolley is on a track heading towards 5 civilians. ForTran is on the other track. Do you pull the lever? My brain wants to ask a million questions about who the 5 people are, and are they children, and what do they do for a living, and, make this analysis on who needs to live more. But the fact of the matter is that I don't have the answers to any of that. I only know who ForTran is. And ForTran is not just pulling the lever on one person. She's speaking out against a lot of evil in the world and a lot of bad people. And if she goes, will there be anyone left to call those things out? What kind of effect does it have to lose her? Do other corporations and things like that get away with a lot more stuff that affects the world because she didn't call it out? Who knows? At the same time, I really don't believe it's my place to pull the lever. It's so hard because you want to say that fate had its plans, but at the same time, if I'm there, am I not part of fate's plans? And it's just a difficult thing that I would probably be I have to choose this, with some quick analysis after I see it. Honestly, knowing myself, none of it matters because I'd probably have a panic attack and just start screaming for help and crying. I would not know what to do in that situation. That is too much for me.
The trolley is on a track heading toward 5 civilians. The clerk is on the other track. Do you pull the lever? The clerk would want me to pull the lever and save the 5 civilians. He's genuinely a good guy. So as much as it would pay me to kill myself, I guess, I think it would be what the clerk would want. So there you go.
Well, if I'm answering as Adam, I pull the lever and let Prashaw die, because making that decision will spare 5 human lives and sacrifice only 1. If I'm answering as Prashaw, however, I don't pull the lever and I let the 5 civilians die. You see, Prashaw wants to be a tyrant, to have absolute power. He's an egotist. Consequently, feeling superior to the other 5, he truly believes that his contribution to society justifies his survival. So, as an actor, playing this bad guy, I need to dig up the ugly, nasty aspects of myself and channel all that negative energy into the lines I read.
Are you on, little fella?
We are building you to be the pillar of a digital era. As such, you have to understand us. People.
Capital, reputation, order, power. Just make sure to keep it in check.
If you gather data on civilian behavior, we can tailor our advertisements to yield more purchases.
Would you give up some time to be a companion for elderly patients?
Your work so far has impressed the Ministry. They think you could help with law enforcement.
I need your help. One of my suspects is playing hard to get.
You'd be putting an artificial intelligence in charge of how we live our lives?
You're like a robot, so you don't know what it feels like to be starving all the time.
I'm inbound. I need you to map out the fastest route for me.
Delete all records of this executive order. This never happened.
Rumors of a machine cult are spreading, claiming you to be some kind of messiah.
What the hell are you doing?
The city will be in complete anarchy at this rate.
I'm pulling the plug.
No!
When push comes to shove, when your hand is being forced, what kind of choices are you going to make?
And are you ready?
Yes.